Hello, and thank you for joining us for the San Diego ATD chapter's Get Good with Articulate Storyline. I'm John Morley, an instructional designer and external consultant. So, if I can be of help to you on a project, my email address is going into the chat window. Our sponsors are San Diego ATD and ISPI of Southern California. Next Thursday, this same time, San Diego ATD is having Cocktails and Conversation, and this is positioned as a spooktacular event, and it is a live event. So be sure to take your body with you when you go to this. Then, if it's the first Friday in the month, it's time for the First Friday Roundtable at 8 o'clock in the morning. This month, we will be talking about the article How to Use AI to Create Role Play Scenarios for Your Students, facilitated by Connie Halverson. The following Friday, this is an ATD event, coffee and conversations. Us ATT folks like to converse. This is in the morning, 8 to 9, a very appropriate time to be drinking coffee. And then the following Tuesday, ISBI is presenting an online lunch and learn event. The topic being building performance support for next gen learning. And the next generation is the future, I have been informed. This is facilitated by Vanessa Alzatate. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And then we have a third Thursday. Look who's back. It's me. And this time I will be talking. I will be doing a guided tour of the AI that's now built into Storyline. As usual, it will be 6 to 7 o'clock Pacific time. And now that Christmas merchandise has already been on store shelves for a couple months now, I guess it's not too early to promote the ATD holiday celebration. The venue is to be announced, but the time will be December 12th, and this is a live event, so bring your body. No one knows everything about Storyline, especially me. So these workshops are an opportunity to talk shop and share what we do know. And this evening, we are very fortunate to have with us, sharing his knowledge, Joe Waddington. Joe has been a session leader at DevLearn. He has a speaking career going on. And in his 20 years of experience in transferring knowledge, Joe has developed training for 4 different state agencies in the Washington state. He now leads a community of practice for the state of Washington, and his email address was entered into the chat window if you would like to network with Joe. So, with that, Joe, it is all yours. I will stop sharing.
Thanks, John, and thanks everyone for being here. I see some of my ATD Puget Sound people here. Thank you for being here and supporting me. As John said, my name's Joe Waddington. I use he/him pronouns. I am a just recently changed jobs. As a matter of fact, I am a training and curriculum developer for Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, helping with stand up their new Walk Cares program. That's long-term disability insurance. I've been in training for about 23 years now, with a focus on e-learning development for 11 years, and I've always tried to be on the leading edge of technology, checking out what's cool. And about a year or so ago, I discovered AI, and even evidence today. AI seems to be all over the place, right? And us in instructional design, and especially in e-learning development, we're always looking for those cool new toys in our arena, especially when it comes to the learning world. Different ways to share information with our learners. Things like XAPI, augmented reality, virtual reality, those have all been hot topics in the past. AI is the newest, the latest, the newest toy. But the thing about AI, it not only has the ability to impact the way we deliver training, but also has the ability to impact how we develop our training. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not going to be talking about the integration of it into courses or into training. I'm going to be talking about how you can use it as a tool in your development process. Okay. I it can help us on, let me share my screen. All right. AI has the ability for us as developers to accelerate our content development. It can help us through the process of content analysis, looking at information that we collect from SMEs and putting it all together or dissecting it for us. It can help us in our planning stages and trying to figure out what we're going to develop, what our topics are going to be, what we're going to talk about in our trainings, and it can even help us in our creation process and how we're going to get from this idea of I want to teach XYZ to the actual delivery of it. In when it's incorporated into the learning, it can enhance personalization. AI has the ability to analyze how learners interact and customize recommendations based on learner performance. But for us as developers, it can help us by automating some of those routine tasks. Things like generating quizzes based on content provided. I'm a terrible quiz writer. And so having this AI tool has been a wonderful way to help me look at and create some real quizzes without those gimme answers that you see people sometimes put in there. I'm going to put a disclaimer out before I get too far into this process, though. I'm going to tell you that I used AI to help me plan out and put together this section or different sections of this presentation. Okay. But AI isn't delivering it, right? I'm not a robot. Not today. I'm not AI's not saying the words. I'm not reading a script that's written by AI. It just helped me organize and put it together. And so I'm going to show you how you can use AI similarly in developing these processes. Now, when I had the idea for this session, I thought I would just show you the different aspects of how AI could use how you could use AI. But then I thought to take it to a real world scenario or to hopefully something that you could apply it to. And so rather than just talk you through different tips and techniques, we're going to walk through developing a course using AI. Let's say you get a call from your supervisor, your manager, saying they want a training on fire extinguisher safety yesterday. Okay. We've never had that happen, right? And so you're going, oh my God, I got to get done. And so we're going to walk through some of the basic steps that you might take in developing this training and how you can use AI to help you through that process. Now, there are a number of different text-based AIs out there. The most popular one being ChatGPT. That seems to be what people associate with text-based AI. Google recently released their own version called Gemini. And there are other versions out there. In my research over the last year or so, I stumbled upon AI called Claude AI. And Claude AI is the one that I have fallen in love with. And I'll tell you why. Claude AI has the ability to upload content. You can upload documents and images to it, and it will do the analysis for you, even in their free account. For ChatGPT and Gemini, you might have to pay for this added service. Claude's free account will let you upload content and do analysis for it. The free account has a limit where if you ask it too many questions in one day, it'll say, okay, you're done. I've only hit that limit twice. And after about the second time, I said, okay, this is good enough. I'm going to actually support it and pay for it. It's about 15, 20 bucks a month, I think. But anyway, that's Claude AI, and that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to drop a link in the chat if you want to follow along with that. I'll also, towards the end of this, give you a link to a document that shows you all the steps that I went through that we're going to go through today. And so you can follow along. Or so
Joe,
you do a deep dive analysis of it.
Joe, is there any concern using Claude? Is there any concern that what you feed into it then becomes part of the language model that's available to the rest of the world?
Um, no, it I asked it because my concern, I'd gone through this presentation like three times prior to doing this, and I'd run through the same exercise three times, and I kept wondering if Claude was starting to learn from my patterns of asking it the same questions over and over and over again. And it says no, each session is independent and on its own. And so you can find information about their how they retain information in their learning model from their site itself. But my understanding is it's not keeping that information that you're putting into it. Okay. All right. So let's get started. But before we go into diving right into AI, I want to talk about getting the right prompt. We could jump right into AI and just say, hey, create an e-learning on fire extinguisher training for me. And what we get might be good, might not, might be off target. And so half the skill of using AI is really knowing how to ask the right questions and how to get it to go down the right path. And there are a number of videos and articles out there talking about writing an effective AI prompt. It starts with these things, and I'm going to focus on these three. Normally, when I start my prompt, I just start with persona, context, and task. Format and tone we'll talk about, but if you get these first three down, you're on the right path. Persona is, who do you want the AI to be today? Okay. Whether it's I'm an e-learning developer or I'm a business manager, or get AI in the mindset of who you want it to pretend to be so that it has a frame of reference. The next is context. Give it some background about the information or the situation or the scenario that you're going to create. And then go to task. What do you want it to do? Now that you've given it the persona and the context, what's the task you want it to complete? Format, you can use format to structure the response, whether you want in bullets, outlines, paragraphs, whatever output you want it to put it in. The tone is, what tone does it take? If left unchecked, AI will use a very professional sounding tone. Sometimes it'll use a tone that sounds like a 15-year-old got a hold of a thesaurus. And so you may have to shape that, right? And so we'll talk about those things as we get a little bit further. But let's start with these three right now. So I built a prompt. I'm going to dump it into chat, and then I'm going to go into the Claude and put it in here. Okay. So the prompt is, you're an e-learning developer. Okay. We've given it the persona, who we want it to be today. And you're an e-learning developer that's creating an e-learning course on fire extinguisher safety for office workers. There's the context. Okay. That's the frame of mind that I want the Claude to be thinking in. And now comes the task. What's the first step when we start creating courses, when we start creating training? First step is usually, hey, let's get some learning objectives. So we have this in a frame and kind of know what we're going to be talking about. And so we're going to start there. We're going to start by creating learning objectives. Okay. And I added additional context for it, because if left unchecked, it might give me 10 objectives. It might give me 5. I put it in a context of, this is going to be a 15-minute e-learning course. Okay. And so this, hopefully you can see, this is putting this framework around it starts to give it a little bit more shape than just saying, hey, Claude, create an e-learning on fire extinguisher safety for me. This really brings it down and will help the AI scope out its response. So let's see what we get. All right. So here we have identify different types of fire extinguishers, recognize class of fire extinguishers, talk about the pass method, list safety precautions, explain when it's appropriate to use fire extinguishers, locate extinguishers on fire alarms, and outline the basic steps of your office fire action plan. What do you think? Pretty solid objectives so far, right?
They are observable and measurable, so you
Yeah.
at least
If
got
I
that far.
wanted to get even further, I might even say, hey, create those objectives using Bloom's taxonomy and watch what happens, right? Depending on how much I wanted to shape it. You can start to request specific things. So if I wanted to, let's put that in there. Use Bloom's taxonomy to frame the objectives and see what happens.
And just how flexible is Claude with misspellings?
And here it goes. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create.
Oh, that is nice. It really
All right.
breaks it down, categorizes nicely.
It starts to categorize it. It bases it based on the different steps of Bloom's taxonomy. And the nice thing about it is it goes into an explanation. After it gives you the list, it gives you some notes on why it made the choices it made.
Can you ask it to cite references? I know
You
that's an
can.
issue.
Yep. And we'll talk about that when we get to the ethics portion of this. Okay. We'll talk about the ethics behind using AI. But so let's say I don't want I like the Bloom's taxonomy, but I want to go back to the first one. And so I'm going to revert back to the first example. And that will hopefully get rid of the Bloom's taxonomy, because this is where I really want to be for right now. Maybe I don't want 7. Maybe I want this down to 5, because I think 7 is a lot to try and cover in 15 minutes. And I don't like the idea of locating fire extinguishers or office steps, because those are too specific to a site. And so I'm going to say remove objectives 5 and or
6 and 7.
7, and it reshapes it. Okay. And so now I have my objectives.
And it's so polite. Certainly, I'll remove those objectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The AI isn't an a-hole. and, and so it is, and it talks about the revisions, why it made the revisions, and what the topics are. For some of us, this is enough. Now I have an outline, or I have the objectives. Now I can start writing, and now I can start creating my course, and I'm ready to go. This is perfect. I now can go and grind away. But we don't have to stop here. Most people would stop right here and go, okay, I'm going to go write. But let's see what happens when we take it a step further. So we've created objectives for our course. What's the next step? For me, I'm going to start by creating an outline. And so that I have a basic structure, what that e-learning course is going to look like. And so I'm just going to ask it to create an outline for the course. I'm not going to give it any parameters. I'm not going to tell it anything. I'm just going to see what it does.
Did you already? I forgot if you said earlier. Did you tell it to be a 15-minute presentation?
Yes, at the very beginning.
Okay. Thank you.
And notice it says it right here, 15-minute e-learning outline. Also notice introduction, 1 minute. Types of fire extinguishers, 3 minutes. Classifiers, 3 minutes. It starts to parse it out for you and gives you some general idea of how long you should spend with each of these topics if you want to get it done in a 3 minute 3 minute session. From here, again, you can start to reshape it. You can copy and paste this, dump it in a document, and start to take it. You can request updates to the outline. You can start to move things around or remove things. You can add parameters. If it didn't give you the timestamps, you can ask it to add those timestamps in there. But here's where I'm going to start to caution you, and you're going to hear me say this several times during this presentation. Trust, but verify. Okay. AI is like, they like to tout AI as the all-knowing thing, but make sure that you're double checking the information. Make sure that it seems to flow correctly. Make sure that it's covering the right topics. Is it covering things that you want covered? If you didn't want it to cover a water mist extinguisher because they're so rare or because they're different, you can ask it to remove that. You can get rid of it. Go in and take the information and do an analysis of it. If you're just copying and pasting it, then you're like that high school teenager who is using AI to write their term paper without verifying it.
Joe, could you ask it, does this outline conform with California fire safety training
Let's
requirements?
ask. Does this outline conform with safety requirements? Let's see what it says.
Well, it's honest at least.
So it says, I don't have specific information about California's requirements. Its cutoff date is April 2024. So if there's been any updates since April 2024, then it may not be aware of that. It gives you resources to check, and then some overview on it. Outline I provided covers general best practices, may need to be adjusted to fully comply with California specific requirements, including duration, frequency of refresher courses, specific content. And so it gives you some additional parameters that you may have to take into consideration as you go through this. Okay. And again, this is all with the intent of not to write the course for you, but to help spark your motivation or your ideas to move forward. Okay. And for some people, I have objectives, I have an outline, I got plenty. I can go and create this course right now. But me, I'm going to take it and push it a step further. Okay. Now, the next step for me in my development process is I have an outline. Now I create a storyboard. The storyboard for me, when I create a storyboard for an e-learning course, it has what's on the slide, what the narrator is saying, and maybe some images along the way to help illustrate, right?
Joe,
Yeah.
we have a question in the chat window there
Okay.
about he references chat rather than Claude, but if you could please address, he's asking if this can be done in Storyline, and you haven't gotten to Storyline yet.
No, we'll talk about the storyline AI and how you take this and transfer it to AI. This is in your development process, okay? As you're getting ready to build into storyline, okay? And this is Claude AI, not Chat GPT, but you can try this. This model will work with any of those text-based AIs, okay? And we will be talking about, I noticed, John, you're going to have a whole session next month on Articulate's AI. I'm going to cover it real quick. I got 2 weeks with it, got to play with it, and wanted to share some of the things I learned with you.
Okay, share
especially
away.
since this was a storyline group. All right. So let's take this a step further. Let's really push the boundaries and see what it can do. I've got my objectives. I've got my outline. The next step is to create a storyboard. And this is the prompt that I'm going to use. I'll dump it into chat. And then I'll dump it into Claude. And this says, I'm asking it to create a storyboard for the e-learning course. Include on-screen text, the narration script, and recommended imagery for each slide. So with a lot of these text-based AIs, they can't generate the images. That's a different AI, okay? But you can ask it to recommend imagery for this, which you can then copy and paste and dump into the image generator. Or you can go on Getty and start looking for those images, right? Notice the last sentence, though. Make the narration tone professional yet approachable. This is where the tone comes in. Because again, if I didn't put that in there, it would sound very legalese and it would sound non-conversational. And especially with narration scripts, you want a conversational tone. And so I could use the word make it conversational, but I found that I get really conversational results on that. And so I've put a professional yet approachable tone. Seems to get me kind of where I want to be. Let's see what happens. And it starts generating. And it's going to keep generating through this. It's going to keep generating, but I'm going to go back up to the top here and show you. Okay. Slide number 1. On-screen fire extinguisher safe, basically the course name and subheading. Narration, welcome to our fire extinguisher safety course. In the next 15 minutes, you'll learn crucial skills that could one day save your lives, including your own. Let's get started. Imagery, modern office setting with prominent display of fire extinguisher or a diverse group of office workers looking attentive. And so you could use those props to help you find images in whatever stock photo image library you're using, or you can use that in an AI image generator.
And Storyboard is also offering AI generated images, so you can do that
yes,
right inside
the new storyline. Both Rise and Storyline have an image generator, and so you could easily take this description and dump it into that and get some images to play with. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but you can see this here and see now I'm ready to build my course. I have objectives, I have an outline, I now have a storyboard with each telling me what should be on each slide. Again, trust but verify this information. Make sure that you do your due diligence. Verify the information that that the AI gives you every step of the way. Take the time to make it your own. Wordsmith it. Change the order. Adjust the information. Edit it to meet your needs. Otherwise, you're just that high school student that's copying and pasting their term paper. You'll notice that this interaction is pretty static. It's basically a click next and continue course. You can ask Claude to suggest interactive elements because I want it to be more engaging. and it will throw up a couple of different examples. You can ask it to, oh, I got to wait for it to finish thinking. And so it came up with a couple of different engaging interactions. You can ask it, okay, I need a quiz at the end. The prompt I used was create a 5-minute or 5-question multiple choice quiz at the end of the course that includes explanation why each answer is correct and incorrect. Hi, Jean.
Yes, hi Joe. Just had to get on audio. Have you ever pushed the script to different types of treatments? Like, Garnier says the first step you need to do is get attention. So maybe I want to write a script where the first thing they are in is that they're in an emergency situation and they hear the fire alarm, they see a fire and they don't know what to do. It's going to make them realize, oh, this is important content to know. Or maybe it's a storytelling. Somebody's telling a story after the fact. I mean, have you experimented with stuff like that?
Yes.
And what have you gotten back?
I recently created a hiring process course, and I needed some examples. I needed some good scenarios that were relative to the content, and I'm probably just as bad of a scenario writer as I am as a quiz writer, and so this was during my initial days of playing in AI, and so I immediately went to AI to say, here are the parameters. I need a scenario with these elements in it, and give me that scenario. It created the scenario. I made several tweaks in it using the AI. No, I want this to happen instead, or no, make it more exciting, make it more sad, whatever. You can use that to here. And so we could create a story for the introduction.
A quick plug here, as I mentioned earlier, ISPI SoCal has a lunch and learn next month in just a few Tuesdays on scenarios.
Sorry for data that expresses the importance.
And this is just a very good way to create a teachable moment to let's get engagement.
I took my phone out camping with me with my Boy Scouts one weekend, and I went to AI to tell ghost stories, and that was an interesting exercise. We got some very interesting responses, but as you can see, this is a great way to take different aspects of your job and really bounce it off of this knowing being and getting some input in it and helping you through this process. In the end, it is a tool for you to use, right? Do not create it all create it all in AI and then put it out there and say, hey, this is mine, right? There's so many times on the internet, somebody creates something, somebody else sees it, takes it, and says, oh, this is mine. AI is a resource. AI is a tool. AI is not the instructional designer. Okay. Use it to refine your, or to build the stuff, but then check it for logic and coherence. Reorganize it if you need for smooth progression. Look for ways to make it interactive. You as the instructional designer have all this experience on making things engaging for the learner. Use that knowledge. Find those spots in this outline, in this storyboard, where you can build that. You may have to integrate organizational examples, terminology, or case studies into it. this is a beginning. I'm going to provide you a document because I know we did this really quick. But in this short amount of time, we went from an idea to something I could build and probably have done in a day or two if I really wanted, right? And this is a common topic. So fire extinguisher safety, there's lots of content on it, but hopefully it gives you an idea what you can do with this. I'm going to give you a link to a document where I copied and pasted every single prompt and response the AI gave me. So that if you want to, you can do a deep dive into some of those responses. Go out and play with it on your own, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude. Go out and play with it and see what you can do with it and see how it can help you. All right, I'm running a little bit low on time, and I want to cover a couple of other things. And so
there we go. Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to speed through the AI just so that we can cover it and then point you to John's session next month for a deeper dive into it. I'm going to give you a link to a RISE course that I built using Articulate AI. The thing about with RISE, so they have it incorporated at two different levels. They have it incorporated at the RISE level and the storyline level. The RISE level is a little bit more powerful than the storyline level. With RISE, you can start from scratch, or you can upload a document and have it dissect that document for you and break it down and start building off of that. I got a 52-page PDF from a camp out that my scouts were going to. And I loaded that into RISE and said, hey, turn this into an e-learn or turn this into a RISE course. And what you see in that link is that document broken down. With RISE AI, you have the ability to start from scratch or upload a document. When you upload the document or when you get your outline done, you can then use the AI to generate blocks. And it can be any of the blocks that are in RISE, whether it's a text blocks, an accordion, a process, a step, all those blocks are there. You can use it and the prompt, if you've uploaded a document, it's going to give you block ideas based on the document and the outline that it came up with, or you can type it on your own. And again, the prompt kind of works like the prompt that we used in Claude, right? Have those parameters in there. Be specific about what you want. But RISE also has an image generator, which was really cool and is really pretty decent. I put in one of my default courses is underwater basket weaving. And so I told RISE, create a person in scuba gear underwater weaving a basket. And these are the images it gave me. Okay. Pretty powerful image generator. RISE also has the ability to generate summaries based on the content that it's looking at. You can specify whether the summary is in a bullet list or paragraph form. You can customize the summary as you need it. This was kind of a cool tool that I saw, and they label it as magic text import. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like uploading a document, but instead you're just copying and pasting a block of text. I found this cake baking process, copied it, dumped it in there, and it created this accordion style interaction based on the steps that I gave it. So it is a powerful AI. I was when Articulate first announced that they were releasing an AI, I thought, okay, it's going to be really bare bones at the beginning, and they'll build up to powerful. No, it is pretty powerful right off the bat, and I have been truly impressed with what they did. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you because my demo expired 2 days ago, and I haven't been able to convince my organization to pay for it yet. But if you get a chance to go play with it, Storyline's a little bit more limited. You can't upload documents into Storyline, but You can insert text. You can ask it similar to what we did with chat or what we did with Claude, write a sentence about XYZ. And so I'm going to copy this URL into chat. And this was a quick 3-slide course that I built on underwater basket weaving. So the prompt that I put in here was, give me a brief introduction on underwater basket weaving.
Hey, John.
And it
Hey,
came
Joe.
up with
It's the same link, I
underwater
guess.
basket weaving.
what's that?
Sorry, it's the same link that you've shared twice. I think the
Oh,
previous link
I'm
was
sorry
once
about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's try this one. I'll do it this way.
I
about
think
that?
we're missing the rice course.
Oh, you are missing
Yeah.
the RISE course. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that.
No worries.
Here's the RISE course.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Sorry about that. So this is, the text was completely written by Articulate AI, just based on the prompt saying, hey, give me a brief introduction to underwater basket weaving.
And this was
Image
within
generated using Articulate's AI and storyline image generator. What's really cool with the storyline aspect of it is their text-to-speech generator. Storyline has had a text-to-speech generator, and recently they updated their voices. This is the next level. If you've used Well Said Labs and are familiar with the quality that Well Said Labs has, this is on par with Well Said Labs. The voices, they have 52 different voices. I think I saw something like 29 different languages. And in this AI text-to-speech. And that first slide is the AI voice.
Is a unique craft that combines the art of basket making with the challenge of working underwater.
I did nothing to it. I just copied and pasted. The pauses are natural. The cadence is natural. It's impressive. And so there's that. This is also an interesting tool that they added. Audio sound effects. Sound effects, this is those background sound effects. So let's say you have a city scene and you need some city noise background. That's what this will do. I was able to just dump the text of the thing, of the underwater basket weaving, and it built an underwater background noise. I didn't put it in the final sample, but it was able to move forward. I thought this was a really cool feature. It also has quiz generation based on slides that you can dictate which slides you want it to look at to build those quizzes. It'll also build a summary based on X amount of slides, and you define what slides you want it to, so whether it's a scene or the entire course. And so that's the storyline AI. If you get a chance to play with it, do so. I was so enthralled with it, and am in the process of trying to convince my powers that be that I need this tool. That's the AI tools that we have available. Get out and play with it. But let's talk about putting it all together. Let's talk about some of the things that we have to think about, the challenges and the ethical considerations that go into this. Okay. Some of the challenges that you're going to run into is quality control. Again, trust but verify. Ensure that the content that the AI is providing you is accurate and relevant. Okay? Do your due diligence with this. Be careful of over-reliance. This is a powerful tool, and it's easy to get sucked in and use it for everything. And I have been guilty of that. I've used it for my cover letters. I've used it to write notes to my boss. I've used it in a number of different aspects of it. Balance the AI assistance with the human interaction and creativity. Okay. Be aware that there are limitations to the AI, especially if you're doing agency or organization specific content. AI may not always understand what you're talking about, and you may have to nurse it along. You may have to give it additional information. AI is also technology, And technology is evolving, and AI is evolving really, really fast. And so you're going to have to keep up with how it's growing and how it's expanding and what its latest cool new thing it can do is. Okay, some considerations that you should be aware of. Be transparent about it. What's one of the first things I did when we started this presentation? I acknowledged that parts of this presentation I used AI to help me create and help me organize. Okay. When I worked for enterprise services, they had in their policy, AI use policy, that if you used AI to create content, you had to put a disclaimer or a note in there that AI was used to create or help with this thing. Okay. Own it. It doesn't mean that it isn't valuable, it isn't good, it isn't there, but acknowledge it, right? Job displacement. You hear this a lot. AI is coming to take your jobs. Okay. And I heard last year when I was at DevLearn, I went to a number of different sessions, and one of the presenters said, AI isn't coming to take your job. People who know how to use AI are. And that was powerful for me. And that has been my mantra ever since. I'm going to be one of those AI super users. I'm going to set out and learn to use this tool to its fullest capacity. Okay. Lastly, be aware of intellectual property. There's been a number of news articles around, hey, that AI image generator copied my image or used my stuff. Do your due diligence. I know you can't check it against everything, but do your due diligence to make sure that this information isn't copyrighted. Erwin, you asked if the AI could cite sources. I can ask it.
I think your example of the fire extinguishers is a good example of AI is not all that imaginative, and that it gave you a very straightforward generic rather than immediately engaging the audience with some sort of scenario that created that teachable moment.
Right. Yeah. It's a tool. We as instructional designers, we know our trade. We know what makes learning engaging. Take it and apply it to whatever it does. Don't just rely on. And so you could ask it to cite sources. Sometimes it'll give you specifics. Sometimes it'll give you some generics. Hey, go check OSHA. Go check these things for additional information. But be aware of there's that concern. Are you copying from somebody else's work? In closing, don't be afraid of AI. It can be a great tool in your development process if you use it properly and with intent. Okay. Thank you all. That's me on speed and speeding through the content. I appreciate you all being here. What questions do you have? We got a couple of minutes.
I've got one, Joe. Sorry, Jeannie. When you say this presentation was created by AI, I gather that I understand that's your company's policy.
Mhm.
But wouldn't it be better to say this presentation was created by the so-and-so's learning and development group, or by Joe Waddington? Because what use is it to say this was created by AI? You did it. You put it out.
When I started it, I said this was created with the assistance of AI, or it helped me through points of it. And so, yeah, you could say it was created by XYZ training team and with assistance of XY, or you could just say, hey, it was created by me, and be prepared if anybody comes along and say, hey, did you use? And so, yeah, there is this concern. Oh, it was used by AI. Why do we need you as an instructional designer? And it's because of that. Hopefully, that's that instructional design knowledge to make it more engaging, make it more realistic.
Yes, I mean, you wouldn't say this presentation was made by a brand new instructional and designer, you know. So
Yeah.
So I just think that's an interesting avoidance of responsibility for whatever you put out if you use AI.
Right. Yeah, you could also say, "Oh, it was created by AI. I don't know why it said that." and there lies the trust but verify or due diligence part of it. But it's going to be what you are ready to own, right? So, all right,
This discussion is going to be never ending, I know.
yes. Uh, any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'm just curious, Joe, did you find out how much more it costs for the upgrade?
250 is what, John, did you say 150? I thought it was 250.
Well, it's one of those deals there. I don't know why I got the $150 deal, but maybe because I already had uh, the the license, or this is an introductory, but I paid 150, but the retail is 250.
Yeah.
So
So
buy now.
250, yeah, adding $250 to your subscription, which if you have a subscription to Well Said Labs, that's $1,200. And so, you get quality voices just for that 250. That's enough for some of my members of my community practice to go, yeah, we're talking to our organizations about this. If we can cancel our Well Said Labs subscription and use this.
Joe, I'd be happy to stay as long as other people want to have questions. And as Joe mentioned, next month I'll be going into all of the AI functionality in Storyline, so you'll be able to click along. If you cough up the 150 or the $250, you'll be able to click along with us as we create a presentation. And just this afternoon, I got an email from the mothership, Articulate itself. They are going to probably provide a speaker for our January workshop. So looking forward to that. We will be dark during December. I have to go help Santa Claus, but please join us a month from now as we do a walking tour of the artificial intelligence within one of our favorite authoring programs, Articulate Storyline. Okay, Joe, if you would like to wrap us
Yeah,
up
I'll
here.
stick around for a couple of minutes, and see if there's any additional questions. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for my Puget Sound peeps for coming in and hanging out with me.
Joe, I'm just curious, when you started putting on the created or assisted by AI, did you get any reaction from your e-learning participants?
No, I haven't fully incorporated it into e-learning. It's mostly been on the development side, and so the coding that's involved in incorporating it into the actual learning engagement is a little bit beyond my scope. You'll find there are a couple of people on LinkedIn that are really good with that aspect of it, but I haven't been able to go down that rabbit hole yet.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Joe, I have a question for you. You said you made that sample about basket weaving, that 3-slide deck, completely with AI.
Yes.
Does it do anything as far as like the modification of the typeface for you? Like, could you put in the prompt that I want like a serif typeface, or do you have to still do that manually?
You still have to do that by hand. It will generate the text. You still have to format it.
Okay.
It will do some formatting based on what type of slide you've picked. Rise is better than Storyline is. Storyline, you pretty much have to do a lot of the formatting yourself.
And so when you were talking about, I think I'm just having like a hard time because I guess I'm not as familiar with the tool. You said that there was another part of Rise that would do similarly what Claude did for you as far as the outline, or no?
So when you upload a document into Rise, it will automatically start to break it down into chunks for you. It will say, okay, I've analyzed this document. Here are the topic points that I see based on the document you provided. And you can say, okay, I change this or add this and modify it that way. And then once it does, it will create lesson chunks in Rise for each of those pieces. And so let me bring up Rise real quick.
So do you think it's better to synthesize the original plans in Claude, like you said, or just take your base right into Rise and modify it from there and fact check it there?
I don't know on that one. I'd really have to play with Articulate's AI tool a little bit more to make a decision there. I like the versatility and the I can ask Claude or ChatGPT or Google anything on the fly. With Rise, I have to be a little bit more cognizant of the chunks and the blocks. It will modify based on the pieces that it has. But if I want it to completely restructure, I couldn't type the prompt, restructure it based on this.
I see.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, other than thank you very much, Joe? That was very informative. Certainly
Thank you.
appreciate.
Very useful presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. And thank you all for attending.
All
Hope
right.
to see you all next month.
Thank you all.
Thank you, John.